Los Angeles didn't become a fashion center by accident. That's one of the first things that needs to be understood because from the outside, it can look like it just happened, like the industry grew organically or casually, the same way people associate the city with lifestyle, sunshine, and ease. But that's not how it actually developed. What people see on the surface, brands, trends, denim, casual wear, that's only a small part of the story. What's underneath that is a system, a structure, a network of people, processes, and decisions that, over time, created one of the most unique fashion ecosystems in the world. And it didn't come together all at once. It was built layer by layer through different eras, different players, different needs, each piece contributing something specific until eventually those pieces started to work together in a way that allowed Los Angeles to function as more than just a creative city. It became operational, it became efficient, it became capable of taking an idea and turning it into a product quickly, consistently, and at scale. That's the part that doesn't always get talked about because when people think about fashion, they usually think about design. They think about the finished garment, the look, the image, but design by itself doesn't build an industry. Execution does, infrastructure does. The ability to move something from concept to production and then into the market, that's what creates a real fashion economy. And Los Angeles developed that ability in its own way. It didn't follow the same path as New York. It didn't operate like Paris or Milan. Those cities were built around tradition, legacy houses, and formal systems that had been established over decades, even centuries. Los Angeles came from a different place. It was more fluid, more adaptive, less bound by structure, but at the same time, deeply dependent on coordination. Because without coordination, speed doesn't work. And without speed, Los Angeles loses one of its biggest advantages. Over time, the city figured out how to align those elements: creative direction, technical execution, manufacturing capability, market access, all functioning within a relatively tight geographic area. That proximity created something powerful. Designers could move quickly, develop ideas without delay, adjust in real time, and respond to what was happening in the market without being locked into long cycles. That kind of flexibility became part of the identity of Los Angeles fashion, not just aesthetically, but operationally. And once that system was in place, it created the conditions for growth, for brands to emerge, for categories to develop, for movements like premium denim to take hold and expand globally. But none of that happens without foundation. None of that happens without the forces that built the system in the first place. And that's really what this is about, understanding those forces, not just as history, but as structure. Because once you see how Los Angeles fashion was built, you start to see it differently. You stop looking at individual brands in isolation, and you start to recognize the ecosystem that made them possible. This isn't about nostalgia. It's not about looking back for the sake of it. It's about clarity, because the same elements that built the industry are still here, still operating, still influencing how things move, whether people recognize it or not. And if you understand those elements, you don't just understand the past, you understand what's still possible. This is how the Los Angeles fashion industry was actually built. The first force that shaped Los Angeles fashion was Hollywood. And to understand its impact, you have to look beyond clothing and think in terms of image, storytelling, and global reach. Because Hollywood didn't just create entertainment, it created perception. It created a visual language that traveled far beyond Los Angeles. Designers like Adrian and William Travilla weren't just making garments for film, they were constructing identity. They were shaping how characters were seen, how they moved, and how audiences connected to them. And through that, they were shaping how fashion was experienced. When audiences watched films, they weren't just paying attention to the story, they were absorbing style. They were internalizing silhouettes, fabrics, proportions, and presence, often without even realizing it. That created something powerful because it positioned Los Angeles as a place where fashion wasn't confined to runways or showrooms. It was embedded in culture. It was part of the visual narrative that people around the world were consuming. That kind of exposure is difficult to replicate. Most fashion cities had to build recognition through industry channels, retail, press, and presentation. Los Angeles had something different. It had a built in global platform, film distributed style at scale, and that distribution created awareness. It created aspiration. It created a connection between clothing and identity that extended far beyond the local market. That influence helped establish early credibility for Los Angeles, not in the traditional sense, but in a way that aligned with how the city functioned: less formal, more fluid, more connected to movement and image than to rigid systems. And even as the industry evolved, that connection between fashion and visual storytelling never really disappeared. It shifted, it adapted, but it remained part of the foundation. Because once a city becomes associated with image at that level, it carries forward. And in Los Angeles, that relationship between fashion and culture continues to shape how the industry is perceived and how it operates. The second force was the garment district itself. And this is where Los Angeles becomes very real, very tangible. Because while Hollywood created visibility, the garment district created capability. Downtown Los Angeles developed into one of the most concentrated apparel production ecosystems in the country, not just in size, but in function: fabric sourcing, pattern making, sample development, cutting, sewing, finishing, all operating within close proximity, often within just a few blocks. That kind of density doesn't just create convenience, it creates momentum, because when everything is close, things move faster, communication becomes immediate, decisions happen in real time. Adjustments don't take weeks, they take days, sometimes hours. And that changes how designers think. Instead of designing in isolation and waiting for results, they can engage directly with the process. They can see what's working. They can correct what isn't. They can refine continuously. That creates a different kind of workflow, more responsive, more iterative, more connected to the reality of production. And over time, that workflow becomes part of the culture. It becomes how things are done. But beyond speed, there's something else that mattered just as much: coordination. Because having all those components in one place only works if they know how to function together. And in Los Angeles, they learned how to do that. Relationships formed, processes aligned, an understanding developed of how each part of the system contributed to the whole. That's not something you can replicate easily. It takes time. It takes repetition. It takes people who understand their role, not just individually, but within the larger structure. And that's what made the garment district so important. It wasn't just a location. It was a system, a network of interdependent parts that, when functioning properly, allowed Los Angeles to produce at a level that supported both small designers and large-scale brands at the same time. That's a rare balance. And it's one of the reasons the city was able to sustain growth across different segments of the industry. The third force was the showroom and market system. And this is where Los Angeles extended beyond production and became a marketplace. Buildings like the California Market Center created a centralized environment where designers could present their collections to buyers from across the country. Retailers didn't have to navigate the entire city. They could come to one place, walk multiple showrooms, see different brands, compare product, and make decisions efficiently. That structure mattered because it created access. It connected design and production directly to retail. And that connection is what allows brands to grow. Without access to buyers, product stays local. With access, it scales. The showroom system created that bridge. It allowed Los Angeles brands to move beyond regional recognition and into national distribution. And in doing so, it reinforced the city's position, not just as a place where things were made, but as a place where business was conducted. The fourth force was the California lifestyle. And this is where Los Angeles defined its identity in a way that was distinct from every other fashion city, because instead of building around formality, it built around function, around how people actually live, movement, comfort, ease, but still with intention, still with design. This wasn't about being casual for the sake of it. It was about creating clothing that aligned with environment, behavior, and culture. And that created a different aesthetic language, one that didn't need to compete with traditional luxury. It stood apart: sportswear, contemporary fashion, pieces that could move between settings without losing relevance. That identity resonated, not just locally, but globally, because it reflected something real. And once that identity was established, it became one of Los Angeles's strongest exports, a recognizable point of view that continues to influence how the city is seen in fashion today. The fifth force was speed and flexibility. And this is where all the previous elements come together, because without the infrastructure, without the coordination, without the market access, speed doesn't function. But in Los Angeles, those elements aligned. And that created an environment where brands could operate differently. They weren't locked into long development cycles. They didn't have to wait extended periods to see product come to life. They could move, test ideas, make adjustments, respond to what was happening in real time. That kind of flexibility changes decision making. It allows for experimentation. And when experimentation becomes possible, innovation follows. This is what allowed entire categories to emerge from Los Angeles. The premium denim movement is a clear example. It didn't happen in isolation. It came out of a system that already understood how to develop product, refine it, and bring it to market quickly. That responsiveness created momentum, and that momentum allowed brands to scale, not slowly, but rapidly. And even as the industry has evolved, that characteristic hasn't disappeared. It's still there, still influencing how designers approach development, still shaping how brands navigate production. Speed in Los Angeles isn't just about timing, it's about adaptability, the ability to move with the market rather than behind it. And that remains one of the city's most valuable and often underestimated advantages. The brands that came out of Los Angeles matter. They represent different moments in time, different categories, different approaches to building a business within the same environment. But the brands themselves are only part of the story, because what made those brands possible wasn't just creativity, it was structure. It was the system behind them, the relationships, the coordination, the understanding of how to move from idea to execution and then into the market. That's what allowed Los Angeles to function as a real fashion city, not just creatively, but operationally. And that's the part that doesn't always get documented clearly, because it's not always visible. It exists in the background, in how things are done, in how people work together, in how decisions are made and executed, but it's there, and it's still there. The infrastructure hasn't disappeared, the knowledge hasn't disappeared, the capability is still present. What changes is how it's used, how it's understood, and who's paying attention to it. Because if you understand the system, you don't just see individual brands, you see the environment that made them possible. You see the connections, the dependencies, the underlying structure that continues to support the industry even as it evolves. Los Angeles is still a real fashion city, but to recognize that, you have to look beyond the surface. You have to understand how it was built and why it still functions the way it does. California Apparel did. Now the question is, who's paying attention to it now?